April 1989. Still in California. Just a couple more months, and then I'll be moving on. And I have moved on a little bit. Just decided to change the background, at least for a couple videos. So I'm sitting in a different chair, which is a little higher than normal. So I had to back the camera up, which is why you're seeing more of me. And you can see I wanted more of the bookshelf showing behind me. You can see how completely geeky I am. I've got my DC poster here, and there's Black Panther down there, and some special things I got from movies around there. There's a Star Wars one. I don't remember what that one is. I'm trying to see it in the camera. Got another DC poster over there, and Spider-Man 2099. You can see some Funko Pops behind me. There you go. Some different Funko Pops. And on the shelf there's some Greg Rucka, followed by some Stephen King. And then there's my bunch of Edgar Rice Burroughs, all my Tarzan books and my John Carter of Mars books. And then Doc Savage, or actually the Avenger on the bottom there, Doc Savage. I don't even know if those are in sight. There's my Joe Lansdale shelf. I can't even lean far enough. But anyway, there you go. I just thought I'd mix things up. Maybe I'll do something else another time. But this, just to, you can see how seriously geeky I am. And this room is. Anyway, that's that. Let's get on to the books of April 1989. I think there's a pretty good mix here. There's a lot of interesting stuff, at least to me. Although no nonfiction this time. But we started April of 1989 with At the Mountains of Madness and Other Tales of Terror by H.P. Lovecraft. This had 4 stories in it, which include At the Mountain of Madness, and then we had The Shunned House, The Dreams in the Witch House, and The Statement of Randolph Carter. I think probably of these, either At the Mountain of Madness, Dreams in the Witch House are probably the 2 most famous. The Dreams in the Witch House was made into an episode of Masters of Horror, and it, as I recall it, this would be the first time I remember reading about angles that don't add up, because of the room that this guy is staying in the witch house, the corners of the room, the angles don't quite make sense. And it might be the story that introduces Brown Jenkin? Is that his name? Can't remember. The rat with the human face. So I remember that story. It deals with witches, obviously. And of course, At the Mountains of Madness is one that Guillermo del Toro has been trying to make into a movie. Deals with an expedition and giant penguins and shoggoths and elder things, and it's a wild one. Don't remember too much about the other 2 stories. Anyway, so book number 2 for April 1989, The Case of Charles Dexter Ward, another H.P. Lovecraft book. This one is a short novel or novella, I don't know, word count wise, how it would fall, and it's the main character is Charles Dexter Ward. He is studying an ancestor of his, who was a wizard and a necromancer and all this crazy stuff, and some weird stuff happens. Of course, it's H.P. Lovecraft. I don't want to spoil it. There's a twist, and I can't remember what the layout of the story is. I believe there's a point where people start investigating the case of Charles Dexter Ward to figure out what went on. That might be the whole way that the story's told. I don't recall. But anyway, it's a couple H.P. Lovecraft books. I had the really cool paperbacks, loved the cover art. And because sometimes I'm not that smart, I relatively recently saw this set of, well, these are only 2, obviously, but there's a set of 4 or 5 that all had the same type of cover art, sort of a set of books, all published by the same publisher and everything. Saw them at half-price books and did not pick them up. because sometimes I'm dumb. But let's move on. Next we have The Forge of God by Greg Bear. And this, Greg Bear is a hard science fiction author. I believe that's what people would call him. And I'm not a huge fan. This might be the first, possibly only thing I read by him. And it's a case of weird things start happening. One of the moons of Jupiter, I think, just disappears. And then weird things start appearing on Earth. And essentially it's all leading to the Earth is going to be wiped out. And how do people deal with it? Some people turn to family. Some people turn to God. But apparently, like, everything that happens is based on hard science. This is the way things would go down based on what we know of physics and stuff, I guess. But it was fine. Figured I'd try some Greg Bear. Wasn't completely thrilled with it, but didn't hate it. Book number 4, Illegal Aliens by Nick Pallotta and Phil Foglio. Hopefully that's how you say their names. This is a science fiction comedy book. It is absolutely hilarious. It's about these aliens that come to Earth, and basically they're kind of like they're practical jokers. They just want to mess with the primitive people on the planet. But like the first group of people they run into are a biker gang who don't take with their shenanigans, and chaos ensues. And there's a character who's part of like a first contact team that has to try to catch up with these aliens before their encounter with the biker gang leads to all-out interstellar war. It's just crazy, hilarious, goofy stuff. It was really fun. Next up, and I'm going to ruin some names here, Outsider in Amsterdam by, this is how it's spelled, Jan Willem van de Wettering. Now, I assume it's like Jan Willem van de Wettering. I don't know. It's a mystery. I meant to look up how to pronounce the name. Hopefully I could have found something, but I didn't. I just started doing this, so you get my butchering. This is the first in a series of mysteries that have, again, I'm going to mess up some names, that star Detective Adjutant. All right, let's try this again. Detective Adjutant Gripstra and Sergeant de Geyer. Don't know if that's how you say their names. Anyway, obviously it takes place in Amsterdam. This is something that was recommended by Dennis O'Neil in the pages of The Question comic book. And we'll see some more by this author, because I enjoyed this first one. And I think at least one of the two main characters has maybe a Buddhist or a Zen bent, which is why it was recommended by Dennis O'Neil, because a lot of his stuff the stuff he recommends deals with Eastern philosophy. So there's what appears to be a suicide. These two characters are called in. It may not be a suicide, and it's a mystery, and it's a character-driven story. These two, Gripstra and de Geyer, or however you say them, the characters themselves are sort of the driving force in this book and in the series. Next up, we have A Scanner Darkly by Philip K. Dick. And, a lot of this stuff I have to look up on Amazon or Goodreads to remind myself of what they are. I looked up at the Mountains of Madness just to see what stories were in it. I looked up The Forge of God because I couldn't remember exactly what that story was. And I looked up Illegal Aliens, Outsider in Amsterdam. Did not look up A Scanner Darkly. I may be wrong about this then, but I loved this book. I haven't seen the movie because I can't stand that overlay animation where they film everything live and then just animate it. But what I remember, this is the way I remember it. So you have a drug running rampant in the streets. So this detective goes undercover to try to find the source of this drug. And when he does, he puts on this mask of some sort that blurs his features. So he becomes, I don't know if he's the head of the drug gang. He becomes involved in the drug business undercover with this blurry face. And somehow, and he starts using the drug, but his mind gets affected in such a way that as the drug guy, he's trying to kill the detective that's trying to take out the drugs. And as the detective, he's going after the drug guy, but he's the same person. But he doesn't, when he's got the thing on his face, he doesn't realize it's it's an identity thing. It's Philip K. Dick. Of course it's an identity thing. And then, there's some twists and turns and a big surprise at the end. But I loved this book. I thought it was fantastic. It's another one. I've not read Philip K. Dick in ages. And I do want to, if I'm going to go back and read some Philip K. Dick, if I'm going to read some Philip K. Dick, I want to read The Man in the High Castle, which I've never read. If I'm going to reread, Scanner Darkly and Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep are at the top of that reread list. All right, so let's move on. Now we have Lightning by Dean R. Koontz. And so there's at the beginning, there's a young girl, Laura Shane. There's a raging storm. There's a lightning strike. She's put in danger, and she's saved by this mysterious stranger. And then throughout her life, there's lightning, and this mysterious stranger shows up. And there's a big reveal, and I am going to tell you, I'm not bragging. Maybe I am a little. I don't know. I figured it out very early. Very, very early. I was like, I bet this is what's going on. And that's what was going on. But this is some good Koontz. This is back when I liked his stuff. And I remember enjoying this book. We're going to see a lot more Dean Koontz, especially once I get to that place that I go to after California. Then we have The Caves of Steel by Isaac Asimov. And this is, I believe, the first in his robot detective series. So you have this human detective from New York, Elijah Bailey. You can see me looking down at my notes. Elijah Bailey, and he's being sent off-world to investigate a murder, and he's partnered with R. Daniil Oliva, if that's how you say it, Oliva, and the R stands for robot. So you have this human, doesn't like being off-world, not a super fan of robots, and he's teamed up with a robot as his partner, and they have to solve this mystery. And I did have to look this up, and apparently the robot looks like the murder victim. I don't remember the specifics of the plot. I absolutely will reread this someday, and it might be on the list again, because I've read a lot of Asimov, and I've reread a lot of Asimov. Absolutely love him. Probably, quite possibly my favorite science fiction author. Love Isaac Asimov. And then we're rounding it out with two books by the same author. First, we have Wilderness by Robert B. Parker. This has been on the list before. This Joe Schmo, average guy, witnesses a murder. The bad guys come after him. He goes out into the wilderness and tries to survive. I mean, it's Robert B. Parker. It's good stuff. It's one of his few standalone novels. And the other one that I read, one of his other standalone novels, Love and Glory. It's Robert B. Parker. This has been on the list before. I consider it a bit of a romance, I think, because love is in the title, because it's a central theme. It's this guy who, I think in college maybe, he falls in love with this young woman. They fall in love, but then he goes to war. I don't recall if it's Korea or Vietnam, but he goes to war. While he's gone, she ends up with somebody else. He comes back to the United States, and I think for a while he's homeless. He's kind of drifting from job to job, but he learns a skill. He educates himself. He basically makes himself into a newer, better man to win back the woman that he loved. And again, it's Robert B. Parker. it's good stuff. So there you have it. Those are the books I read in April 1989. I think that's a pretty good mix. You've got absolutely some horror, quite a bit of science fiction, and then a mystery, a thriller, a whatever you would call Love and Glory, whatever you want to call it. Yeah, not bad, in my opinion. So there you go. All right. What do you think of the new background? This is not permanent by any means. I don't like having the case. You're going to see me be leaning forward. I don't have anything to put things on. This is just a temporary thing. It's Saturday, May 1st, so all the videos I'm recording tonight is going to be this setup, so you'll see like 4 in a row with this. And this won't even be the first one because I put these out on Wednesday. And, well, it might be. It depends on how the book reviews fall. But anyway, it may or may not be the first one. Let me know what you think. Should I move the chair around and show you other things? I might do that wall because that's the wall I have like a ton of comic book covers stuck up on, and that might be a little reflective, but it could be a cool background. Anyway, let me know what you think. Do you want to see other backgrounds? I know some people want me to do bookshelf videos, which I will get to at some point. I just don't look forward to. All right, I'm gonna move here a little bit. So I don't look forward to removing all of the things that are on my bookshelf in front of my books to do bookshelf videos because they're covered with Funko Pop figures and action figures and stuff. And in this case, a big mask of Deathstroke and some bottles of horror soda. Anyway, let me know what you think of the background. And if you care, if I change backgrounds, I'm definitely eventually going back to my comfortable chair and my Marvel Zombies quilt background. All right, so if you have any comments, questions, corrections, please put them in the comments below. Comments are open for spoilers. Just post a spoiler warning. We try to be polite here on my channel. Please like, share, and subscribe. If you want to follow me on other social media, my Twitter is @Ronin5757. My Instagram, where I post pictures of books, comics, board games, and fuzzy animals, is ErikSmith5757. That's Eric with a K, ERIKSMITH. Right about now, I suppose. I don't know how this works. There should be some things that will have you could click on to subscribe, click on to see more videos. That should be around here. And until next time, read more books.